afternoon. You're watching City News at 3:30. I'm Sophie Evans. 2 million people have suffered from some form of long COVID since the start of the pandemic. That's according to research released today from Imperial College London. Our reporter Tom Claiborne joins us now with more information and the latest figures for the capital. So Tom, can you tell us more about the study and its findings?
Yeah, so the study shows that a third of people who've ever had coronavirus continue to have at least one symptom of this disease 3 months after their first positive test. This has seen the government put forward £50 million in funding to tackle and research long COVID. This comes after the infection rate for London of coronavirus has risen from 66 cases per 100,000 people to 81 cases per 100,000 people from last week to this week.
So what's causing this rise in cases?
So London has the lowest vaccination uptake out of any region in the entirety of the United Kingdom. Only 60% of Londoners have taken up their first dose when offered it, and only 39% have had their second dose. And public health experts are concerned that ultimately the loosening of restrictions and this low uptake could cause the perfect storm for COVID in the city.
Thanks, Tom. These coronavirus cases and restrictions are also affecting the travel industry, with protesters gathering outside Westminster calling on the government to reopen travel for the summer. With 195,000 jobs already lost or at risk in the sector, workers say the government's lack of support has made COVID a difficult voyage. Xavi Bird reports.
Making their voices heard. Airline staff, executives and travel agents alike coming together with one message. 3 weeks ago, Portugal was taken off the green list, which has sparked a reaction from industry employees.
So we're here today basically to ask the government to open up travel, to open up safely, have a transparent system. We need to have some tailored response for airlines, airline staff and pilots to ensure that the airlines survive, pilots have jobs and we're there ready to pick up and go when the country does open up.
People in the travel industry are frustrated with the current restrictions. They're hoping that today will force the government to take notice.
But with COVID cases increasing, how much will this affect policy making?
What we have to remember is that the government is doing this to save lives and that it's just a month. And it's fundamental just to hang on a bit longer in order to get more jabs into arms.
But the continued travel restrictions are having a severe effect on local businesses.
Basically, a travel business like ourselves gets paid when the customer departs. So it doesn't matter how many bookings you get, unless they actually leave the UK and go on holiday, we don't get paid. So we've been sort of running on empty since March 2020. We see Europeans travelling, we see Americans now travelling, and we just feel very frustrated, I guess. I think it's the frustration alongside the actual economic impact, which has been the most challenging thing to deal with. So.
With the country now reaching the height of summer, those employed in the travel industry will hope that people will have the chance to pack their bags before autumn. Xavi Bird, City News.
The nightlife industry was all set to welcome back partygoers this weekend after the proposed Freedom Day. But the delay to the easing of restrictions means those working in the sector are having to wait another month before they can return to normal. Catherine Stainarge went to find out just what this means for those in the nightlife business.
Silent, empty and bare. The pandemic has muted the night. This is not what today should have looked like inside London's nightclubs. But then again, this has been the norm for the last 15 months. This weekend should have been the first one open since Freedom Day. Staff were hoping to prepare for a rush of partygoers dancing and socialising without social distance. But Piccadilly's Rain nightclub remains still.
We've got the late night economy, which is the predominance of our representation, who have not been able to open for over 16 months. So when people sort of put ourselves in a position or start to talk about it's only 4 weeks, it's not. It's 4 weeks plus that 16 months of closure.
The nightlife industry has long been a staple of London's identity. The capital, which was once famed for scenes like this, could be facing a heavy loss if clubs are forced to close their doors for good. Without revenue, they are on the brink of collapse.
But it's not just nightclubs that are losing out.
Many other industries that rely on the nightlife economy, from taxis to takeaways to restaurants, are feeling the squeeze of the 4-week delay to lifted restrictions. Conflict Records organise club nights across the capital. Their first pre-pandemic party was planned for this weekend. It sold out within hours.
We're still going to go ahead with the party, but we have to reduce the capacity by 60%. Obviously losing 60% of our revenue, but also a ton more admin and work to go with that to earn a lot less money.
There's a clear thirst for the public to return to the club scene, but the long months of closure mean the capital's nightlife might never be the same again. Catherine Senaj, City News.
London's house prices are no longer soaring, according to the latest property market data. Changes in lifestyle and working practices are said to be causing buyers to look outside of the capital. Our reporter Samuel Etienne had a closer look.
Sky high. That's one phrase buyers have used to describe the London property market, which is now showing signs of slowing down, having seen record house price valuations throughout the year. June data from online property portal Rightmove shows that the capital has had the lowest annual gain in house prices in the country, an increase of just 0.8%, compared to 10% in East Anglia and 11% in the southwest of England. Londoners with large cash deposits are a driving force behind this, as they're leaving the capital for the surrounding regions. They cite a reduction in the need to commute to work and desire to move from small flats into larger properties. Dorian Cooper recently made a move from London to Luton.
London was really expensive, if I'm really honest. And in terms of value for money, in terms of what you could get for the budget that we had, we really wanted to have a place with a garden, and we needed sort of at least 2 or 3 bedrooms to make sure that, you know, we had enough space for the boys as they were growing and getting older.
Rightmove's Director of Property Data, Tim Bannister, explained the finance behind the trend, saying record low interest rates and stamp duty tax reliefs have helped many to afford higher prices, satisfying their pent-up desires for a new home.
When you look at this street and these signs here in Wandsworth, you might find it hard to believe that there are fewer people in the capital buying homes than elsewhere in the country. But that is exactly what is happening, as house prices remain at an all-time high, driven by buyers seeking to exploit the stamp duty holiday that ends next week. With a glut in the number of affordable homes in London, we can expect to see Londoners continuing to look further afield for a cheaper deal. Samuel Etienne, City News.
Now for the latest business news with our correspondent Nick Clay.
The Financial Conduct Authority has been criticised by MPs for its actions during the collapse of the London capital and finance firm. In a report published today, the Treasury Committee says that the FCA failed to hold itself to the same rules as the companies it regulates. The authority has also faced criticism for its failure to notice problems within the former investment firm whilst it was under its supervision. The FCA has welcomed the report and has apologised for the mistakes they made. 13 London branches of Lloyds Banking Group will close as the company announces another string of closures for their Lloyds Bank and Halifax brands. 44 banks across England and Wales are included in the latest round of cuts. These branches will close between September and November. It means that by the end of the year, the group will have shut over 100 branches nationwide. The retail director for Lloyds Banking Group says the boom in online banking is the primary cause for the high street cut down. Kurt Geiger has partnered with Kids Charity to bring play and adventure to children with disabilities in London. The fashion brand provided 150 retail staff and invested £40,000 in the renovation of the Hackney Adventure Playground, the only specialist play park for disabled children in the capital. Yesterday, I went to find out more about the project.
Designer shoes, not something you would usually associate with charity. But Kurt Geiger is hoping to walk in a new direction with their Be Kind clothing brand. 100% of sales will be donated to Kids Charity. The company is also trying to renovate its own image, as well as the Hackney Adventure Park.
March 2020, the company changed. You know, the pandemic came and we knew we had to be more than just an entrepreneurial commercial company. We knew we needed to be in the fabric of the community. You know, we were a decent company before, but we needed to be much kinder.
The park has become a crucial lifeline in the local community for families with disabled children. It allows parents to leave them with trained professionals and take a break from full-time caring. There is also a huge demand for the services that the park provides. 1 in 5 children in Hackney have a disability, and 92% of parents feel this causes them to miss out on opportunities provided to other children. The Hackney Park currently supports over 100 families in the community.
One of the problems for disabled children is the sense that they get second best. They get the rubbish. They get the stuff that the rest of the world doesn't want. And that's outrageous. They deserve the best, not the worst. You know, I think that's what Geiger's involvement stands for.
As a nationally renowned fashion label, Kurt Geiger have a wide social influence and have taken it upon themselves to give back. CEO Neil Clifford says that the company needed to learn to be kind. And some would say that by giving London's disabled children a safe space to play, they've done exactly that. As London begins to reopen, could we see more businesses begin to invest in their local communities?
Staying in Hackney, head teachers are welcoming the rollout of more school streets. This week, 7 schools in the borough have become the latest to go car-free during drop-off and pick-up times. It's hoped the initiative will encourage more children to walk or cycle. Emily Cole reports.
This road would normally be packed at 8:30 a.m. on a weekday morning, but it's now part of the latest rollout of Hackney Council's school streets. The initiative means that between 8:30 and 9:30 in the morning and between 3 p.m. and 4 p.m, only exempt vehicles can be on these roads.
I guess the fewer cars there are at the start and the end of the day, the safer it is for our children, because they do kind of come out and want to cross over to see their parents, and sometimes there are quite a few vehicles in the way.
The plans had been in the making for around a year, but due to the pandemic are only coming into force this week. While those at the school think it's a good idea, for some environmentalists the initiative doesn't go far enough. By only pedestrianising the areas around schools, there are concerns it'll just make other roads more congested.
It's a fair point. I mean, you know, if the volume of traffic over a wide area is going to be the same, it's just going to different places, then, you know, clearly the environmental impact is similar. But in terms of the proximity of the school, even a few hundred metres or even 100 metres can make quite a big difference. It's been shown that the air quality is significantly better 200 metres away from that main road than it is up there.
Congestion levels in London have long been a problem, but the school streets in other parts of Hackney have seen a 74% reduction in tailpipe emissions. So with less cars around, the children at Homley Primary School think school streets are a good thing.
Because I really like walking to school by myself, and I think this will make it even easier.
I think school streets are a good idea because it makes going to school a lot safer and it stops pollution in a bit.
Still to come on today's programme, data shows there are less public toilets for women in the capital, Londoners build up to Climate Action Week in the city, and there's a new face on the £50 banknote. See you after the break. Welcome back to City News at 3:30. The Tavistock and Portman NHS Trust is challenging the landmark High Court ruling that children are unlikely to give informed consent for puberty-blocking treatment. Our reporter Charlotte Barholt is at the Royal Courts of Justice now. So, Charlotte, can you tell us more about the story?
Yes, so today is day 2 of Tavistock's appeal against a High Court ruling from December, which said that children under the age of 16 are unlikely to be able to consent to puberty blocker medication. So this was a High Court ruling from December from Kira Bell, who was referred by the Tavistock Trust for puberty blockers when she was 16. She's now 23 and she says she regrets her decision to transition to male. And she says that the Trust should have done more to challenge her decision. Now, today in the appeal, 9 organisations are intervening, and that includes 2 NHS trusts that Tavistock use to refer children who experience gender dysphoria to. Now, a judgment is expected at a later date, but Tavistock is known for providing the only gender identity clinic for children in the UK, so it is a landmark ruling.
For more information on this, our website at www.citylondonnews.co.uk. Data found by City News shows disparities in provisions of public toilets between men and women in London. This has caused anger in some boroughs because of the increased need to use public spaces during the pandemic, along with the arrival of summer. Jose Fox has this story.
Public toilets, not usually associated with a great day out, but often required. With summer here, there's pressure on London's public toilets. But is accessibility to these toilets fair and equal for everyone? A Freedom of Information request by City News found a disparity in public toilet provisions between men and women. Men can use 65% of public toilets in London, with women below at 57%. Our data shows that Lambeth is London's worst borough for gender parity for public toilets, with a third more toilets that males can use compared to women. We asked women how they feel about toilet provisions in Lambeth.
They're just very difficult to find. I've got 2 small nieces who come and stay with me quite often, stay overnight, and it's very difficult to take them anywhere because there's never anywhere to go to the toilet.
I appreciate that the council have put some portaloos in, however it's a really unpleasant experience, and I'm not going to lie, a lot of my friends have had to go kind of nature.
If we can have or more gender neutral toilets or more women toilets in general, because it's taking more time, it's more uncomfortable for us.
We asked Lambeth Council to comment, but they didn't get back to us. It may be that COVID brought these long-standing issues to light, but it is yet to be seen whether local authorities will put in the work to change this reality. Jose Fox, City News.
Over to Samuel Bourne now for the latest sports stories.
The UEFA European Championships will continue on Saturday, with 2 round of 16 matches being held at Wembley Stadium. Italy will play Austria on the weekend, while England will play Germany next Tuesday evening. 45,000 fans will now be allowed to attend the games at Wembley, with 60,000 planned for the semi-finals and final. Harlequins captain Stefan Levis says that it would be massive to lift the Gallagher Premiership Rugby Trophy on Saturday. The London side will play reigning champions the Exeter Chiefs at Twickenham. Levis hopes to lead his team to their first Premiership title in 9 years. Harlequins will be challenged by the Exeter club, who have appeared in the league's final in each of the last 6 seasons. Back to you, Sophie.
With climate change increasingly on the agenda, many Londoners are wondering how they can be more environmentally friendly. Today, the Climate Change Committee delivers its progress report to Parliament, with London Climate Action Week starting on Saturday. Adam Goldsmith found out more about the event and the work being done by local climate groups.
A move to a greener lifestyle is hot on the agenda here in London. Starting on Saturday, organisers and bodies involved with London Climate Action Week say they want to harness the power of the capital to fight climate change.
I do think it's really, really important to talk about the psychology of climate change. And I do think it's really important that both scientists and the public are sort of aware of this idea of despair and doom and everything's hopeless, because if we start to feel like that, then we'll never do anything. So I think it's both important for the public to kind of hear positive messages and hear that, you know, it's not just all terrible, we're not just all completely doomed.
The organisers say this year's Climate Action Week will focus on 4 key themes. a green, fair and resilient recovery, the road to COP26, which takes place later on in the year, encouraging whole of society climate action, and achieving a sustainable net zero London. Although these digital events only last for a week, the message is clear. Consistent action needs to be taken against climate change. Across London, local groups are springing up to help boroughs' residents understand what they can do regularly to make a change.
We tend to try and do practical projects that literally help members of the community be more sustainable. And it's very easy to think, both as an individual in society and as an activist, that you're doing your bit and nobody else is. You know, everything looks the same. We're just all ploughing on. And actually, I mean, to some extent that's true, but to a large extent, people are doing all sorts of things. You know, all kinds of stuff is going on, and you can find out more about it, which is quite encouraging to think you're part of a broader change and a broader transition.
When Sadiq Khan was re-elected as London Mayor, he promised a new green future for the capital. And this week gives London the opportunity to demonstrate its commitment to tackling this burning issue. Adam Goldsmith, City News.
Postponed until September, this weekend was supposed to be London Pride. But now there is something slightly different for the LGBTQ+ community to celebrate. Ben Bresloff reports.
A grand reveal for the new £50, and a noteworthy face to go with it. World War II codebreaker Alan Turing is the first ever openly gay person to feature on a Bank of England note. Available now, the note's release coincides with Pride Month and lands in the same week as was originally scheduled for London Pride. But during this 2-year hiatus in Pride celebrations, is the Turing £50 note significant to the capital's LGBTQ+ community? Jim McSweeney is the manager of Gay's The Word, the UK's oldest LGBT bookshop. Jim has seen a revolution in acceptance of gay people since starting in 1989. He says the new note can spark a change in attitude towards LGBTQ+ people in London.
At the moment, there's a lot of a backlash around trans people, but certainly for lesbian, gay, bisexual people, it's really changed. And you just want more of that, where it isn't an issue. You know, you just get on with your life and you're part of society. And if you've got to be careful whether you're going to hold hands in the street or kiss a lover on the street or exchange a peck or even a look, and if you've got to check and modify your behaviour in case you'll be attacked, you want that change.
The fight continues for greater acceptance of all members of the LGBTQ+ community, but Alan Turing, born in this Maida Vale house, didn't have the same rights that gay people have today. He was prosecuted for homosexual acts in 1952. He accepted chemical castration instead of prison shortly before his apparent suicide in 1954. Alan Turing was granted a royal pardon in 2013, and his image on the new £50 note reflects the change in attitude towards LGBTQ+ people, both here in London and in the rest of the UK. For Alan Turing, this change came far too late, but one thing that was never disputed was his code breaking, which both then and now have always been on the money. Ben Bresloff, City News.
And now it's time for updates from the world of entertainment with Seb Giraldo.
London's film and television industry could be hit hard by Brexit as the EU looks to encourage more homegrown productions. British programmes such as The Crown and Downton Abbey are currently classified as European work and are included in the 30% quota of programmes produced in the EU. But with discussions underway to change this classification, there are fears it will have an impact on funding for new productions, many of which are based in London. A report is expected by the end of the year outlining its decision. The British Museum has elected ex-Chancellor George Osborne as its new chair. In an announcement made this morning, its director said the former editor of the Evening Standard will take over from its current chair, Sir Richard Lambert, in October. He was elected by its trustees, a group which includes figures such as Dame Mary Beard and artist Grayson Perry. Campaign group Save Our Scene has announced a protest to be held this Sunday in support of London's live music industry. It's one of a range of events being run to protest against the government's perceived disregard for live music throughout the pandemic. Many in the sector say they have been forgotten by the government and are calling for an urgent intervention to save summer.
That was your roundup of the latest entertainment news. Local artists are praising the National Gallery's new interactive digital walking trail, saying it has removed elitism from art and allowed newer audiences to view their work. 20 pieces have been placed across London in a bid to bring art in the city back to life. Aisha Aldris has more.
The National Gallery has teamed up with several organisations, including Art of London, to create the augmented reality app, which facilitates the walking trail. Members of the public can download the free app to scan frames dotted around central London to view the art.
This app has provided a solution to the public's lack of access to art throughout the pandemic. Artists involved therefore say that it is vital to bringing back arts and culture into the capital city as we find a new normal. Artists also hope that this will allow a newer and wider audience to see and view their art, and to also view it in new ways.
It's pointless having pictures that never see the light of day, that people don't see. And obviously during COVID, a lot of galleries have been shut, and so anything that helps get the pictures seen by people is a good idea. More things like this would be great.
Artist Christabel Blackburn is also pleased with the initiative, as she says that by nature it tackles the issue of elitism in the industry.
Especially with this app and stuff like this, it doesn't have to be so elitist. It can be accessed more and more with the technology these days by everyone. It is a healing thing for anybody, so it's a really nice way for anybody to download this app.
The app includes insightful audio commentaries and information about the artwork on visual display. It also instructs users to practice social distancing while participating, to keep them safe while they enjoy the art. Aisha Aldris, City News.
And now for the weather with James Briggs.
Thanks, Sophie. In true pandemic fashion, you join me here in my garden. Now, going into tonight, the weather is going to be a little unsettled. It has been all day. It's been a little bit hit and miss. We've got some more cloud coming in. We've got a chance of showers, so maybe take your brolly if you're off out on a walk or going to the pub. And we'll have an overnight temperature of around 12 degrees. Now, going into tomorrow, it will be cloudy and damp to start. So kind of what we've got now at the moment, a little bit unsettled, but it will get brighter throughout the day, which is quite good. And they'll develop into some nice sun, but also a few showers here and there. But we've got a max temperature of 22 degrees, so actually really quite mild. Looking to the weekend then, it's looking largely fine for Saturday and Sunday. Maybe a little bit mixed, but apart from that, not too bad. Back to you, Sophie.
And here's a reminder of our top headlines today. Research from Imperial College London has found that over 2 million people in England have suffered from some form of long COVID since the start of the pandemic. Hundreds of travel industry employees gathered outside Parliament to protest against the government's restrictions on international travel this summer. London's house prices are no longer rising at the same rate, according to the latest data. Changes in lifestyle are leading buyers to look outside of the capital. City News has found there is disparity in the number of public toilets for men and women in London. This comes with the increased need to use public spaces during the pandemic. The High Court ruling that children are unlikely to give informed consent for puberty-blocking treatment is being challenged by the Tavistock and Portman NHS Trust. That's all we have time for on today's programme, but if you'd like to hear more about any of the stories covered today, you can go to our website at www.citylondonnews.co.uk. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.